everyone, good morning and welcome back to Total Football Talk. So we're going to look at all the latest news coming out of Manchester United. And as always, it's been the international break, so that means there's plenty of news stories floating around. So we will look at the headlines. We'll look at what Manchester United are saying with Semenyo. Is there interest there? We'll have a look at that. We'll also delve into what Ruben has said about Harry Amas, what he said about Garnacho, what he said about Mainoo. We'll look at the story about Tyler Dibling, again, that's kind of doing the rounds. A little bit on why we didn't get Quenda. And finally, a story on Jadon Sancho and where he may end up. Will he end up back at Manchester United? And what could that potentially cost Chelsea? So thank you very, very much, guys, for joining, and girls, whoever's watching. If you're enjoying the content, if you could hit the subscribe button to get yourselves into the comments, it's free of charge. That would be absolutely amazing. Tap the like button or the thumbs up. That would be first class. It would really, really help me out. And let's look at the Semenyo story. So Manchester United have started negotiations to sign Bournemouth's Antoine Semenyo as per his agent. United are ready to offer 40 million, but Bournemouth 150. Now, Semenyo is an interesting character. He's a bit of a journeyman in terms of getting his way into the Premier League, because he was originally at Bristol City, where he was their Young Player of the Year. Then he moved on to Bath. He also played at Newport. He played at Sunderland, and then he got into the Bournemouth team, and now he's playing regularly in the Premier League. Now, this year he's got 7 goals for someone who kind of plays in a forward position, and I think potentially a wing back stroke 10, but I think I think Ruben Amorim would probably play him as a potential wing back, because he has got the athleticism, he's got the power and the pace to get backwards and forwards, and he does, obviously he is creative and he does score goals. But I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sold on Semenyo. I can see the merits of it. I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think Semenyo would be a player that's worthy of a Manchester United shirt? You know, there's 40 million. Bournemouth bought him for 10 million when they brought him in, but now they want 50 million. I think even at 40 million, yeah, that's maybe closer to the mark. He's coming into his prime years. He's 25, so I think there's potential in him. I'm not sold on it, but I'm not unsold on it. I don't know. He does fit the category of what I've always mentioned. I'd like a little bit of more experience, an experienced player, because he's not a 21-year-old, or he's not like Tyler Dibling, who we'll look at in a second, who's 19, or Quenda, who's 17. He has got experience in different leagues. He has proven that he has got the drive and determination to move from the kind of lower leagues right up to playing in the Premier League on a regular basis and scoring goals. So he's an interesting fit to what we are currently looking at. And back in the day, Manchester United used to buy the best players from other Premier League teams. We used to, like the likes of Berbatov when he was at Spurs doing really well, Louis Saha when he was at Fulham and absolutely flying at the time when we brought him in, and he did very well for Manchester United. Rio Ferdinand, Michael Carrick. We used to find the best players from other teams and bring them into our team and then push them on to another level. So are we kind of going back to those days with the likes of Semenyo potentially coming in? Would he be a good fit? As I said, we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. But let's move on to the Geovany Quenda story. And apparently this is from Laurie Whitwell, and I watched him talk on the Stretford paddock to the boys there, and he said that Manchester United knew that Chelsea were going in for him, but Manchester United on 2 parts felt that they couldn't get him. One, they didn't want to have to wait another year because Ruben Amorim hasn't got that time, and also the fact that they said he was a little bit young. Now, considering that we've looked at a lot of young players, I'm not buying the young bit. I'm not buying the fact that he's young, because I do believe that Ruben wanted him. I do believe that Manchester United were really keen to get him. I think Manchester United have still failed on this, and I still think it's a bit of they've still balls this one up. But it is interesting that, you know, they're saying they knew about it and they let it go ahead. I don't think they had the funds to do it, and I also don't think that. But I think they actually have let Ruben down here, because I do believe he really wanted him. So that's the story on that. I mean, what do you think? Do you think Geovany Quenda would have been a good signing for us, even if we had to wait another year for him? Please drop your thoughts in below. But then so your next story is this one, and it's, excuse me, Manchester United are sort of looking at Tyler Dibling. So Tyler Dibling is a cracking player. He's had a very good season for Southampton. It looks like they're going to get relegated. And this is kind of what is coming out from Give Me Sport. Manchester United have apparently opened talks with Tyler Dibling. Now, Tyler Dibling is another young player. So obviously, they've just said that Quenda was a young player, and I get the having to wait a year, so I can appreciate that. But they said also because they didn't want another young player coming into a young squad, that you've got the likes of Heaven, Yoro, Garnacho, Mainoo, and so there's a lot of young sort of players already in this team, and they're kind of alluding to the fact that they didn't want another one. But yet apparently we've now opened negotiations with Tyler Dibling, who's a 19-year-old and has only had 1 year's Premier League experience with a team that's going to get relegated. It doesn't make any sense to me that. Yeah, so as I said, that's why I feel the Quenda deals, they've failed on it. And Tyler Dibling is a potential, he's the next one out of Southampton's academy that could be the big bright star. They've already had the likes of Walcott and, Gareth Bale, and James Ward-Prowse has had a very good kind of career out of Southampton as well. So they have brought through some very, very, they're only the ones I can think of the top of my head. I know there's been others that have come out of Southampton's academy. And yeah, so even back in the days of like the likes of Alan Shearer. So I think that, United have, kind of, it's interesting. One hand, we're not after a young player, but on the other hand, then we're signing Tyler Dibling, who's a 19-year-old. I don't really know what that means. But look, Laurie Whitwell also talked about Kobe Mainoo and Garnacho, or Kobe Mainoo's contract, and ultimately Amorim's view would come into this as much as he's going to be playing. Does he fit into what he wants from a player? I think he's changed his mind on Garnacho, speaking positively about him recently, and hasn't really gotten the opportunity with Mainoo because he's been injured. And I think, as I said before, I think the Mainoo thing, he was looking at Mainoo at the 10 whenever Mainoo played against Star Bucharest. He seen flashes of potential. Mainoo did play in that role when he was playing in the academy, and he could potentially play in an 8 or a 10. And I think he just needs more game time to prove to Ruben Amorim that he can fit in the system. Some of the players are starting to really show that they can. As I said, Mainoo's kind of lost out a little bit because he's not quite up to scratch at the minute, only because he's injured, not because of anything else. And I think that Manchester United could be, if they were to let either of these players go, I think it would be disappointing. I'm happy for them to go if Ruben feels that they're not quite right for his system. But if he would like to keep them and he would like to build on them, I'd prefer them to stay and have us bring in players to help them grow, as opposed to just letting them go and bringing in more youngsters to try and replace them. These two guys know the club, they know the history, they've kind of managed the shirt. Okay, Garnacho's had a tough season, Mainoo's had a tough season for a different reason. I just hope that they can battle their way through this, get to the end of the season, carry on improving, and at least giving Ruben Amorim something to think about in the summer, before we actually kind of pull the plug and maybe sell one or both of them, and then bring in younger players who just aren't up to scratch because they're not fit for the jersey in terms of being able to being able to kind of manage the expectations that come with playing with Manchester United. And then talking about young players as well, this is what Ruben Amorim has said about Harry Amas. Ruben Amorim is considering bringing in Harry Amas in his plans sooner than expected after his impressive cameo against Leicester, before the international break, and plans to give him minutes in the upcoming games. Now, Harry Amas has someone who's done very well at Manchester United, especially in the youth development. I think he said that's a transitional period of his life now. He needs to play. He needs to move up, and he needs to play games in the first team for whether it's Manchester United or whether it's a loan. If he can get some minutes between now and the end of the season, it's brilliant. It gives us an extra kind of left-sided player, which we have found it tough to come by, because it doesn't look like Luke Shaw's coming back anytime soon. Which Laurie Whitwell also said on the Stretford Paddock. Might miss him, may come back a little bit quicker, but Luke Shaw won't. So, having a left-sided player with sort of Amas's quality will be very beneficial between now and the end of the season. Even if he's only making cameo appearances off the bench, I think it could really help us, as I said, on our final run-in towards hopefully a Europa League semi-final with a bit of luck. And then finally, we'll look at what is being said about Jadon Sancho. And it does look like Chelsea are going to be sending Sancho back. He has really underperformed. Chelsea are not they're not happy with him at the minute. You know, it's almost like everything's coming home to roost for Jadon Sancho after falling out with Eric Ten Hag. He's going to Chelsea, and it's not worked there either. And it says Chelsea may have to pay millions of pounds to Manchester United as a penalty. In like a penalty clause if they pull out of the agreement with Jadon Sancho on a permanent basis, and I just wonder if that's an FFP thing for them as well. Swedish Rumble talked about it yesterday, and I couldn't quite figure out. I wasn't entirely sure what he meant, but it kind of maybe sat with if they just send him back to us, maybe it works out better from them financially rather than bringing him on a contract and having to pay him wages over a 4-year period of time. Interesting to see what happens with this one. If they do send him back, it could be anywhere up to 10 to 12 million they have to pay us, and then we have to try and sell him again in the summer. And I would think that could be quite difficult because his performances have been so poor. I don't even think we'd get 25 million for him. So I prefer Chelsea to take him off our hands and have him not come back to Manchester United and know that that deal is done and one less headache to deal with in the summer. But if he does come back, they're going to have to pay us big compensation, and obviously they have paid us certain sort of in the contract deals already. They paid us quite a bit of money for him, so that will be an interesting one to see how that one pans out. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. That's your kind of 10 minutes. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. As I said, if you're enjoying the content, please hit a like, and if you are subscribed, please get your comments in below, and if you're not subscribed, please tap on the old right hand corner bottom of the screen and get involved, and I shall see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.